Hi everyone, Vacha here from recordingstudio9.com. Thanks for joining us again. And I have with me Chad from your home recording studio. Hi, Chad.
Hey, Vacha, how you doing?
Very good, very good. Well, Chad is from US and he runs the YouTube channel Your Home Recording Studio. And we're just going to have a quick chat and interview so I can introduce Chad to my subscribers. So, Chad, thanks for accepting my invitation to do a quick interview and introduce yourself and your home studio to my YouTube channel subscribers. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we move on about your studio as well and your YouTube channel?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, well, thanks for having me on here. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, my name's Chad. I am kind of a newcomer to YouTube. I just started my channel in about it was maybe March or April of this year of 2016. I just wanted to start a channel since I've been in an amateur capacity recording at home for about 15, 16 years now. I don't really consider myself a master of any of the subjects involved by any means, but I just wanted to start a channel as almost as much as an outlet for me to just kind of blab on about this thing that I have a huge passion for, but also to help people, because I started to realize that people that are just getting started coming to this, especially people coming more as artists and not as technicians, there can be a lot of complexities to try to overcome. So I just wanted to try to cater to those people that are just trying to get their foot in the door, trying to buy their first audio interface, their first microphone, understand some of the basic concepts about recording the songs that they're writing at home, and hopefully doing it inexpensively. So that's kind of what I was trying to do. There's a lot of questionable information out there, and you can't blame anybody for trying to help and everything, but some people you come across and it seems like they might be doing more harm than good.
Yes. Okay, so can you tell us about your home studio? From
Sure.
what I have seen in your videos, as well as in the past when we've been talking about on Skype, you've got a really great setup there. Can you sort of guide us through all the different things that you've got and what sort of setup you have?
Oh, sure. Well, I after living in this house for about 15 years. About 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, decided to purpose build a room since I was living with my wife of 3 years and her son. They told me they didn't really mind all my noise and playing guitar and drums and singing and all that stuff, but it was more kind of for me. I was more self-conscious about it, and I'm kind of a night owl. I tend to stay up later than them, and I just felt terrible.
We all do.
So loud, so late. As part of finishing out this basement, was able to contract it, get the contractors to really work with me, and we set this room up to be as soundproof as possible, given that it is a residence. Mm-hmm. But this is a basement room. It's surrounded on 3 sides by the house's foundation. Mm-hmm. And we've got, we've decoupled the ceiling joists here from the floor joists of the room above, so vibrations don't transfer. The ceiling here rests on the walls of this room, so they don't transfer vibration to the rest of the house. We've got,
so you have taken sort of the room-in-room concept, and you've done a proper job.
Yes. It's my first time, and I was really just going by information that I'd read. Lots of research, just like in your studio build as well. You put a lot of research into it, and
yes,
and you really don't know until it's all together. and you know, turn a loud stereo on in and walk outside, and it's like, well, let's see how this worked. You know, you know, it's always only as strong as its weakest link. So there's always that kind of moment of like, let's hope that everything worked out right. I do get some really marvelous attenuation of noise out of this room. It's not perfect. The low end, you can still hear, but that's taking into consideration, just out of frame here is a Marshall amplifier, a 50-watt tube amplifier on top of a 4x10 that is one of the most ungodly loud things that man has ever made. So, you know, I don't expect dead silence outside of the room, but it's nice enough that on a school night, I can play loud guitar, play drums. I'm blessed with a family that sleeps very heavily, and not really disturb anybody. They can hear it, but they can still watch TV in the next room. And considering I'm making, you know, 140 decibels worth of noise in here, that they can still watch television in the next room. Yeah, I think, you know, that's pretty good.
But we still have to take into consideration that it's a home studio and not a studio, you know, a commercial studio where they spend, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually soundproof it and so on. So we have to take that into consideration. And if you are able to do that, I think you've done a fantastic job. I just hope I get mine the same way, same amount.
I think you're on the right track. Yeah. I'm almost. I was in the middle of watching your video when you called here, your latest one. So I'm almost completely caught up to where you're at in your build. So it's looking great so far. I think you've done a great job so far. It looks like you're doing everything right as far as, you know.
I mean, you've already done it, so you already know what goes into it. Okay, as that's your room. What sort of acoustic treatment have you got? I can see there's quite a bit behind you with the bass straps and the panels.
Yes, all of the acoustic treatment in here is all GIK Acoustics. They're a company out of Atlanta, Georgia, I believe, and then they also have a presence in Europe. They sell a whole range of different acoustic treatments and everything. I'm not a particularly handy person. I don't particularly do. I don't have tools to really build my own, even though it's not that difficult to build your own. I just don't have the experience or the tools or the talent to, you know, put it together and have it look nice and sharp and crisp. So I went ahead and just bought them all.
Yeah. That's why there are companies where, for people who either can't or can't be bothered, you know, you can go and pay the money and purchase it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And they, you know, they offer a wide, they're partnered or not partnered, but they offer all of the, there's a fabric company called Guilford of Maine, and Guilford of Maine they have all sorts of fabric, but they have 2 or 3 lines that are kind of their acoustic fabric. So it's, you know, fire code rated, it's acoustically transparent, and there's all sorts of different colors and weaves and fabrics and textures and everything. So, you know, shopped around. They were kind of like one of the best kind of cost to benefit ratio if you're going to just buy acoustic treatment. So yeah, behind me there are 3 of their, they call them their monster traps. They're 2 foot by 4 foot by 7 inch thick. So there's 5 inches of mineral wool and then a 2-inch air gap behind them.
All right. Okay.
They do a really good job. In the corners back here are actually they're acoustic screens. They're 6 foot tall by when they're unfolded. Right now they're folded in half, and I just keep them in the corners back there to kind of do a little bit of. They don't really do a whole lot in the corners there, but I use them.
They sort of look like a, you know, bass strap from what I'm saying. So that's you're sort of trying to achieve that.
Yeah. You know, they're out of the way, and they'll do a little bit for the bass. You know, they help some of the reflections. But you can unfold them, and I kind of make like a makeshift vocal booth out of them when I record vocals or acoustic guitar or something where it's a lot more sensitive to reflections from the room and ambience, and I want to dry it out a little bit. And you can't, of course, behind the camera and all around my mixing position here, I've got a couple of, you can almost see it. Actually, you might be able to do this. Might be able to.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Well, you've got the ceiling one as well.
Yeah, yeah, and the cloud ones, and then I don't know how far I
That's
can
okay.
twist this
Yeah,
without,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I can see them.
yeah, on,
All
on either
good.
side. So, all right, let's get him back where he belongs. And
There we go.
all right, there
Back
we
to
go.
where we were. Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, you bet, you bet.
Mm,
So yeah, it's in the mixing spot, and that's the way all of my acoustic treatment is kind of geared, is more for this to be a control room kind of
mhm,
setup. But
mhm,
since it's just the one room, so it's a dual purpose room. It's also a live room,
mm.
a
Yep,
tracking
yep,
room.
yep, yep.
So the back half of the room is a little more lively. Although honestly, I kind of wish it wasn't, because in a small rooms just don't sound all that great. So
Mm,
it's almost better to have them totally dead, and
yeah.
then
Mhm.
digitally add ambience later,
Yeah, yeah, because
rather than
yeah, I guess in a smaller room you get that very vibrant sort of reverb in there, but it's so short that it's sort
yeah,
of yeah, it's sort of more annoying than trying
yeah,
to use that. You know,
yeah,
for a
exactly.
live room and to be able to use that the room effect, you really need probably let me say in your American terminology, at least probably 14 or 15-foot high ceilings, and so on, to actually get that nice. And same with the
Right.
other dimensions in length and width. So to get that nice sound.
Right. And
Yeah.
I've heard as like a recommendation of like at least I can't remember exactly the number, but it was somewhere between like 2,200 or 2,500 cubic feet of
Yeah.
volume in the
Yeah.
room, and anything below that, it's and that's I've really discovered that to be really true, because even though I've got all the bass traps and everything in here, and I have floor to ceiling bass traps in the corners behind the camera here, the bass in this room is very, very difficult to control. Um, and I don't know if that has to do with the concrete foundation, and it's very reflective of low frequency.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, in this room, even with all the treatment, I could stuff more treatment in here than I could actually fit, and it still might not be a
Mhm.
flat low end response in here. Those
Mhm.
low end reflections are nasty in here. So
Always the same problem. I mean, I've got the same low end problem in this room at the moment that I'm in now, even though I have some bass traps and things. But in my case, I had no other chance than actually use, room equalization to balance things out.